It's like a shin of beef or lamb shank. Slower the better. Hey folks, welcome back. It's a big barn build, and at long last we're starting on our brickwork, and we've done a day or so of making a start on it, and we're going to share that with you along with a little bit more building today. So stick around, let's get laying. So what we've ended up doing is getting a long stretch done up to DPC. So we've got some natural breaks, we've got doorways, we've got oak posts, and therefore we've kind of got manageable little chunks to work our way around on. Focusing on this corner, we should therefore be able to do this bit all the way along to the oak post. Remember, we're coming up to windowsill height with brick, and then it'll be cladding above.
Small one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's been really windy, so we've been kind of managing the lime with Hessian, misting it, and just keeping an eye on things. We don't want it to go carbonating and curing too quickly, so it's just about right now, maybe even a little bit too soft still to start with the brush, so we're just going to leave it. We started trying to get it too perfect too early on and you can make a mess, so we're just going to leave that as it is and set our corner up, keep going up, and we can rack it down the other side. Now, because we decided on imperial sized brick, I went out and bought 100mm DPC, and that doesn't quite do it because these are about 10mm wider. So I'm going to have to go back out now and pick up some slightly wider DPC. I don't know if you get a 125, so I might have to do 150 and we'll cut it down. And then we're now at the height where we need to start using some wall ties as well. So I'm going to do a quick shopping trip. Just a lot of head scratching. We've already rebuilt 2 sections. It's probably why I didn't start filming on the first day. The corner over here, we've got a slightly bigger cavity. We've got 60mm on this side rather than 50 on the back. That's fine, doesn't make any difference, but what it does do is just makes our oak post a sensible little step out. Otherwise it was going to jut out quite a bit. Alright, so we're mixing up the lime mortar. I say mixing, we're just kind of bringing it back to life, and fortunately we don't have to do too much work at all, simply because this was made to order. So this was made at the plant about 5 days ago, so it's been mixed in this huge big mixer, and it doesn't really need too much work to knock it back up again. So if you were using an older mix or really needing to kind of beat the life into it, then what you need to do is you need to use a paddle mixer if you're doing small batches, or like one of the horizontal type mixers, ideally, that goes round. And that's the better option for lime mortars, but we're using what we've got, and really you could almost use it straight out the bag. I'll show you what it's like in here. So sometimes when you buy a lime putty mortar, it's pretty stiff, and although it looks dry, you don't want to add any water. And like I showed in the previous sample bag videos, we had to really mix it up to bring it back to life. Whereas this, you can see there, this doesn't need anything added to it, and really doesn't need much mixing at all. But obviously we want to, just to make sure it's nice and evenly consistency, because we're laying bricks with it. So we're just going to let it work in there 10 minutes, and then we'll pop it in the barrel and work along. So we'll leave that to do that. We're now at the point, this is going to be DPC height. So when we get around the corner, the ground level is going to climb slightly, So we decided to take the DPC up a course or two to match the ground levels, to make sure we're still, you know, well above the outside surface. So here, for example, our finished patio height is going to be the top of that common, so we've got 100mm to bring it up. So 2 bricks, 2 courses means that we are over 150mm above finished outside level, which is what we want to aim for. Now this is almost just like a sacrificial skin to our building, because remember, this is actually our cavity wall back here. So we've got 3 walls, 2 cavities. Our timber frame and everything is back on that one, and that's got its DPC, DPM on the inside, all lapped and lovely. This one is just a skin and is completely separate. It's not touching in any way, but we are doing it as if it was, I guess, part of the normal cavity wall.
Love is cool. Sorry, I'm twanging that line.
You clang away. Right, we've been pushing on with it, and I thought it's time to give you a bit of an update on progress so far. It's slow and steady. We're no pro bricklayers. We're kind of just winging it and learning on the job. That's the best way. So the most progress is around this side, which is looking good now. Now, because it takes a lot longer for the hardening process, the carbonation of the mortar to happen than it would if it was cement, we can actually be a little bit more leisurely about the joints. We can come back in. I've been using a little tuck-in, point-in trowel just to make sure that they're pushed in nicely, because when you're laying, especially if you're a DIYer, you're not necessarily going to get that right as you go. So I'm going along just to make sure that the joints are nice and full, but we're not going to touch it up and start trying to make it look pretty for hours, if not a day. So at this point, we'll leave all these sort of snots and bits on, and we'll just work our way around. And we're not going to rush that process, because I can still get a fingernail and an indentation in there, so we know we're safe enough to leave that. And down the bottom is from yesterday. That's probably ready to brush up this afternoon, but even then, we had it all covered. It's behaving itself. It's like a shin of beef or lamb shank. Slower the better. We'll just let it kind of cook away. We are using ties to our timber frame. So you can see here, these are, unlike a brick tie where you're mortar to mortar, here they're nailed through into the stud. Now of course we've got a 60mm cavity here. We're aiming for 50. It just works at 60 is better over here. We have to nail these in with a stainless steel nail into the stud work, but of course we've got a batten there, and because of the angle of these, you can't nail them to there because they protrude too far. So we are just putting it beside this one and nailing in on a slight angle, and that's catching the stud. So that's working well, and we're putting those every, don't know, 5 or 6. We've done a few more than normal. I guess it's every 2 courses with blocks, so whatever the imperial equivalent is. And we've clamped it up. It's marked on here, these pencil lines, so we can just bump our string up each time. And we've got to keep really accurate to that, because as soon as you creep up a little bit with a couple of lumpy bricks, it throws everything. And then you can see in here, that's our step that we're leaving out. We're going to put a chamfer on this oak anyway. We've got about 25mm step of oak out to create a bit of a feature out of the post. Now, one question for you guys is, do we point this up with lime, bearing in mind that it's nice and flexible, or do we just clear out that joint and have a vertical gap beside the oak just for another 6 months, and then I can point that up with the same mortar afterwards, just in case there's a bit more twisting and moving to do, which there was bound to do. You know, it could shrink away. So I don't mind shrinkage, because then I can point it up, but if there's any movement and this is tight in here, it could push out a couple of bricks, so we don't want that. So I might come back and just rake that out. Bricks are going in nice. They are a lovely blend. We're happy with the colour and everything, but there is quite a lot of variation in size, which we've got a little bit of wiggle room on the bed, but some of our beds have ended up very small, and actually when we clean them back, they are, well, we decided having done some test panels, we either had to have a 13mm bed or a 9mm. So we went with the 9mm, especially with this mortar, where we're able to achieve that because the aggregate's quite small in it. But some of them are going to be smaller than 9, just because, you know, the brick to brick changes so much. Anyway, another profile on this corner. So at some point when that comes off, we'll point up and tidy up this corner. And now we're working along to the door, or the window I should say. But I think when it gets wet in the rain, it warms up a bit. Yeah, yeah.
Looking good. That's a good idea to keep you on track.
Yeah, well that's also the definite end, so we can finish up front to that. It's still quite soft.
Oh, so you don't wire brush it then?
No. You can right at the end if it goes beyond, but first you need to do that to force the mortar back in. Just when it's harder, you can just go along it a bit more and perfect it. But
it's looking good. I mean, that looks good to me.
Yeah, it's only like the next day sometimes. Once it's dried a bit, you spot it's kind of covering over a little bit more.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
And you can just expose a bit more
just
brick.
Yeah.
Yesterday. So. So we're at the point now where we're going to start knocking it back and brushing the joints, and some of this is 2 days ago, some of it is yesterday, and you just got to check it as you go, because sometimes it'll be on a warmer or windier side of a building and every day is going to be different. So we're waiting until we can just about get a fingernail in it. You don't want it too soft because it can make a mess of the face of the bricks, and likewise you don't want it too hard because it'll be beyond help. So when we did a repointing on the stonework at the old house, we knocked it back in, we bashed it with a churn brush to help force the mortar into the joint, because there's obviously a little bit of shrinkage as things dry, and you want to make sure it's really well packed in. This, because it's on a full bed, it's slightly different. I don't think we need to kind of give it too much. You're more just tapping it to get a bit of texture in the aggregate, and then once you've got that texture, and then brushing over it to kind of take a little bit of the texture back off again. And you can do that, and you just get an eye for it until you're happy, and then you can just rub a little bit of Hessian or your glove just over the joint just to make sure it's nice and smooth and even afterwards. So it's a bit of an art, but you get into the rhythm of it. we've got our DPC here. I don't want to expose that too much, but it does need to be visible. And then I think my top 2 courses are going to leave for a bit. Down here, some of this is already being brushed, so I'm just kind of working my way through it. Well, it's just about time to wrap things up for week 1, or day 3 I should say. I haven't filmed too much of the ins and outs and the technique, probably for good reason, but I will be in the next video, or the coming videos, we'll be filming a little bit more of the detail, a bit more time lapse and a bit more action. But this week was all about just getting our heads in the game, working out a process, working out a finish that we're happy with, and I think we're getting there. I mean, I've just spent an hour and a half and I've done 2 courses. This is going to be a labour of love, but you know, big barn build wasn't built in a day. So let me give you a bit of a walk around, and then I need to do a bit of tidying up. So we're over halfway on this panel, probably getting on for 2/3, and then that long stretch about 1/3 of the way. So we haven't quite worked out what our pace is yet, and how many panels or sections, bays we can get done in a day. But anyway, here's how we're looking. Some of these are damp. So excuse the fact they're a bit mottled at the moment. This is the finish we're looking for when we're all brushed up. Again, I need to get the better lens because all you can see is shadows. That's rubbish, Tim. Alright, this is the finish we're getting after we've kind of tooled it and brushed it, and a bit of Hessian to go over to smooth things out afterwards. Dad's just finished this section as well. There's our DPC exposed all the way along. And we've got a couple of courses here, and our slab will be coming up to the top of that common. So that's how we're looking, and I reckon by the time this dries there's a good bit of aggregate. Remember, this is the new London mix, it was called, so a bit warmer than we initially planned, but you know, if you look at how this is going to dry, as we've looked at in the previous videos, it's going to be a little bit more grey. Now this corner, I think when we take the profiles off, I'm not going to touch them yet, when we take the profile off I'll probably need to kind of chip back and repoint the corners just to make sure that's all tidy, because that's quite a kind of a feature point that we want to make sure that looks nice. The rest of it is looking okay. Quite a lot of variation in the bricks, so we're kind of learning our way to getting our eye in to pick through those, but it certainly feels like a new chapter to the build and progress being made, and I can't wait to take that profile down over there and see it against the oak, because that's going to be lovely, especially in the evening like it is now. The oak, the red brick, and soon to be some timber cladding above. Beautiful. We've got a big weekend coming. Saturday we've got the whole team coming to do the Velux window installs. We've got 4 more going in, so it's going to be busy. Got to sort out access for that now. Scissor lift, forklift, tower scaffolding, indoor sort of floor protection, and then we should have a bit of a transformation next week. I'm going to try and put together a video from that, because we've already had a couple of Velux put in already, 3 actually, and we've got another 4 to go. So once we've got all that footage, we'll show you how it's done, because it's all custom upstands and GRP to the roof. Thanks for all the love on the ICF video. It was a stressful day and I think everyone appreciated that, but it's all good. We've kind of left that to one side for now. We're going to crack on with the brickwork, so I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.